Live your life, boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
Yeah, rear naked choke of Cocker Spaniel, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Bro.
Change the neighborhood up.
Conspiracy Farm. Go. Check it out.
Superb, locked, and loaded for another additional episode of The Farm. Jeffrey Wilson, rolling shotgun with Pat Miletich, man. Pat, how we doing?
I'm doing great. We had a great show last night with our friend George Pardos, and we're gonna just freeball it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, just a little freestyle night.
Go where this conversation takes us. No focus, right?
Well, I mean, a lot of people do have hit us up to say just, conversations between you and I. I mean, it is kind of cool. I mean, we do get some pretty cool guests on, and we talk about so much stuff, and it always is kind of cool to just bring it back to the foundation, and just you and I chop it up to do, kind of some post-fight analysis, if you will. No pun intended.
First, how many shows did we do before we got a guest? Was it 2?
Dude, yeah, we were right out of the box. I mean, I could easily look it up.
We got Peter Schiff early on, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were coming out of the box swinging. We weren't fucking
we
about.
We kind of hit a home run with Peter Schiff off the bat.
That was dope, and
you wanted him, and we got him, man.
Well, and you had been, you had always been kind of a fan of his as well. But before we get too crazy, ladies and gentlemen, please, congratulations to the farm are in order. I know we're not fucking with any of the PewDiePie numbers, if people know who PewDiePie is, but we have 20,000 subscribers to the farm, and we are absolutely thankful for each and every one. And, literally, when we see the metrics, when we see where we're at throughout the world.
Yeah, but over 2 million unique downloads, which is...
For sure. And the messages we get literally, from all over the country and all over the world, it is so freaking sweet. And, I'm not even, we don't, of course, by saying it, I'm getting into it, but we know there are certain algorithms that are kind of restricting some of our access, et cetera, but the basic, when we started this, man, I really just wanted to kind of keep it grassroots foundation, almost like back in the day, that old school hip hop, which I'm sure you weren't. I know you weren't a huge fan of, but that stuff grew, man, from the companies that didn't want to mess with things that were maybe a little too controversial. That grew from an underground basis, and that's kind of where we're at right now, man. And those 20,000, thank you guys, seriously, so much, man. We get all your messages. We see you. We have a road show. We are just putting it together the best we can. And there's obviously going to be more updates on that. But, again, thank you, man, so much. 20,000. I was pretty stoked to see that this morning on the old YouTube. And, yeah, man, the last episode we had was pretty crazy because some crazy shit going on in the world.
Yeah, we were talking about coronavirus.
I'm sorry, corona. That's right. Not Modelo virus.
A guy posted or commented on my post when I put up the episode. He said, people would get a lot more out of this, or get a lot more out of this education and not be so stressed if it didn't have political spin. And I just commented back to him and said, hey, man, false flag attacks and this sort of thing that goes on, it doesn't go on for any other reason than political gain, financial gain, greed, all of that. And I said,
all too often,
the one goes with the other. This doesn't happen just because people don't have political aspirations and want to destroy other people, and
Yeah.
So
and this is the asymmetrical warfare that we've spoken about, and it's not about doing any kind of circle jerk or any kind of victory laps. This is what it is, and we're going to be seeing more of this, quite frankly. And as I've said and we've said, when it happens, we're not even going to know that's what it is, only through kind of historical perspective. Oh my God, Pat! 20 years from now, did you realize that whole thing that was supposedly spawned from Wuhan was whatever we find out it to be?
Wait. No, because if you think about it, yeah, most people are thinking that way, but you and I were anticipating this.
No, for sure. I'm just saying the lay person. And like I said, only through historical perspective are things okay. But even now, how it is every single time we're arguing, where did this come from? Did China do this? Did China do this to themselves? Did we do it? Are they doing it to Trump? Are you seeing who the spokesperson for the CDC was, like we spoke last night, and her political affiliation? Is like, are all of these things completely to be not acknowledged
Ignored.
or ignored.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's a lot to take in, man. Not to take in. But again, within the fog of war, whether it's now or Gulf of Tonkin or whatever it is, we all are kind of just freaked out in real time. So
Well, you can't just say Gulf. You can't just blurt out Gulf of Tonkin, because a lot of people don't know that Gulf of Tonkin was a false flag before Vietnam.
That's true. That's true. I mean, whatever they throw out there, the Iraq War, Persian Gulf. Oh my God, they're tipping over incubators and just pouring over babies. I mean, there's a lot of fear and fear tactics that go into a lot of things that we see as like political and military stuff. But again, nowadays, as we've said, military play. I mean, we've been at war in all these places, and these things are not PR-wise a very good thing. So we're seeing things more asymmetrically. And as we talked about on our show last night, and we talked about literally, ladies and gentlemen, almost a year ago when the New York thing popped off, and they were mandating vaccines, measles vaccines, for going to certain areas. And in my opinion, this was a beta test. And even then, I said, we're just one outbreak away from this being super crazy, and et cetera, et cetera. And I really, really do
mandatory vaccines across the country.
I definitely implore people to listen to our episode we had with George Pardos last night, and his dissection of the genetic pathology of this particular virus, who it's hitting, who it's not hitting. I mean, it's hitting everybody, but who it could kill. There's very interesting telltale signs as to who it's killing and who it's not killing. And only time's really going to tell on who it's really taking out from a mortality standpoint. But very interesting conversation we had last night. And it kind of tagged teams with some of the conversations we had with Dilyana Gaitanzeva, talking about genetic-specific bioweapons in these different 20-plus facilities that had sprung up throughout Eurasia. Definitely worth,
With scientists that have diplomatic immunity, so they can carry things with them and ship things that can't be searched.
Diplomatic immunity.
Okay, listen. We know the CIA hires scientists and then give them diplomatic immunity, apparently.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Hey, let's create some shit that can wipe out 2/3 of China, bring them to their knees, and,
And you see,
let's figure out how we're going to deliver it.
And when you see from an economic standpoint, literally, I mean, people aren't dying in huge numbers right now, but it is creating a fear. But from an economic standpoint, look at what's happening. I mean, it's decimating.
How many people in the United States have died, Jeff, from coronavirus?
I think it's...
Zero? It's zero.
In the U.S., you're right. You are correct. Yes, zero. Over the world.
So
yeah.
Why would the stock market drop historical losses?
I mean, this is
today,
the magic of the media, bro. This is the magic of the
manufacturing
media.
shut down in China, Pakistan, a lot of other places because of it. It's slowing down the world economy. Is it intended to collapse the stock market, Jeff? Do you think that's what it's for, to get rid of Trump?
Well, I mean, again, this is another aspect of the conversation. This is all a part of some larger thing to, again, that's what's so crazy, Champ. These last few weeks, in any of these situations, like we've talked about, in the fog of war, in the immediacy of the situation, all of these different theories and hypotheses are thrown around. And, everyone has good sources, supposedly, et cetera, but only through weeks or months or years following do we really kind of find out what's going on. And that's what's frustrated the shit out of me. And if you listen to this show going back to Las Vegas, ladies and gentlemen, I still don't feel I have a good grasp on what the fuck happened in Las Vegas. And this
because they won't tell us. But I think we have come up with a few
of course.
Scenarios that are very likely,
sure.
And none of them include a 68-year-old fat guy shooting a gun out a window of a fucking hotel.
Who liked video poker. No.
Right.
And I get it. You're right.
Hey, listen. I mean, MSNBC and CNN and everybody reported that he made $5 million a year playing video poker. I mean, the guy must have been the best in the world.
Video poker.
$5 million a year doing that.
I know.
Video poker at the bar, $5 million a year. My ass.
Right.
He was flying dope and weapons for the CIA or FBI or whoever.
Yeah, whatever secrets he has, he needs to just spread that shit to my mom's card club that they've had for the last 30 years. They can, clean up and go home, baby. No, seriously. I mean, it's literally the lack of information is troubling because you don't know. I heard somebody on the radio today, like, there's no gray. From a 1 to 10, it's crazy or it's nothing. There's no mid ground of like, no, this could get a little nutty, you know what I mean? But it's like I said last night, man. And when you hear Trump's press conference, when you hear these official people using this kind of tepid language of, no, it could get pretty crazy, like that, not freaks me out because it could actually hurt, you know, from a physical standpoint or physiological, like we talked about it in the conversation. If you lack this particular gene, it's not going to be, the mortality rate's lower. But, dude, it doesn't even matter if people really could die from this. The level of fear that can be created is off the charts, as we're seeing, and what it's doing to global markets. That's the kind of shit I'm worried about. It never has to be really legitimately happening for people to lose their mind. Dude, I have a friend of mine that I work with. Dude, he has gone straight doomsday prepper, and my phone's been blowing. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, think about this. As we've talked about on several episodes of, certain banks, Wells Fargo closing 800 branches into 2020. Deutsche Bank has lost so much in its value in stock that I think it's pretty scary. It's just a staircase straight down for 5 years. And the CEO of Deutsche Bank already saying that the Federal Reserve and European Central Bank have no more options left the next time around that the collapse happens. And that means no QE. That means no QE, man. No quantitative.
Well, it's now they've changed the language. I forget what it's called now. I forget the actual name, but the new version of the QE is supposed to end here at the end of March. In April,
they want Trump out, and they will use pandemic to cover it and make the excuse when it all goes under and they start a new currency that could potentially be digital only, which is a little scary, don't you think?
Well, imagine that. I mean, we've talked about how they need to, in my opinion, get rid of the old to bring in the new, and what they are bringing in as far as the new is, possibly things that are leaning into this Agenda 21 sustainable development. What are your thoughts on that, Champ?
Well, I think, everybody gets a chip in their arm. You go to work. At the end of the week, when you're done working, they upload your previous week's check into the chip into your arm with a scanner. So you're ready to go to the bar and go partying, right? And then at the bar, after you drink and happy hour and eat some food, they scan your arm and take some out as much as and add the tip in, so that comes out of your chip out of your arm. Then you forgot you got to stop at the grocery store and pick some stuff up. You buy some stuff at the grocery store. You got to scan your wrist with your chip to pay for that. And when you go to church, here's the coolest part, Jeff. When you go to church, they hand the baskets around, but the baskets are no longer baskets. They're just like almost discs, and you just wave your wrist over it, and you donate to the church.
See, and I'm assuming in jest you're saying this, but at the end of the day,
somewhat in jest.
Yeah. But again, you're talking about Revelations, the book of Revelations, where they say you're not going to be able to buy, sell, or trade or anything without this mark of the beast. And look at what has happened, in my opinion, beginning with our Social Security number, because you're not able to do shit without that. And that adds to the barcode that we all love so much, what became our credit card, which now is our debit card and that bank account. And everything is so much more digitally transacted now, like you were saying. Are we already there?
Bro,
and something like this, you're saying, gets rid of
fiat
currency?
Credit cards are the mark of the beast. You're a slave to it, right?
Well, debt is slavery. I mean, that's what they say. If you can't pay for it with cash, you don't need it. I mean, unless you're really.
I tell you what, man. We paid off almost all of our credit card debt. I incurred some credit card debt because of some crazy shit that happened with my. A lot of people don't know. I had a stalker for 3 years, dude. He was insane. It was like Cape Fear level stalker. Cost me massive amounts of money in attorney fees and stuff, and racked up so much money in attorney fees, dude, that, I started using credit cards.
Which is the irony when we first linked back up, dude. or when we linked up to do the show, his name was Jeffrey Wilson, too. Like, who fucking knew?
Yeah.
I joke, ladies and gentlemen, I joke.
No, but, so, yeah, man, and we got that stuff paid off and cut them up. they don't exist anymore. They haven't existed for quite a while. So
they can get dangerous, man. I mean, especially with the interest rates that they have now. It's absolutely off the rack. But
it's about living a lot simpler for me.
It is.
It's a lot more peaceful. A lot more peaceful.
I tell you what, man. And since we're just freestyling, freeballing, one night I came home from work, and I've always been kind of like that minimalist kind of guy. And I think I saw a documentary too on like tiny houses or something. One night I came home from work and I just looked around at all the just random shit that was around me that I did not need.
Exactly.
And that next morning, there was literally a pile of shit in the middle of my, living room floor that I wound up either donating or whatever else. But it's always been for me, man. I mean, less is more. I mean, there's so much stuff that we think we need, but we don't. And we talk about it all the time, like things, people trampling each other for shoes and Black Friday sales. Like, really? Is that where we're at now?
Dude, I saw a guy. Now, granted, I've got children and a wife and all that sort of stuff, but I visited I won't say his name or anything, up by Bellevue, Iowa. I visited. He's got several hundred acres up there. And over the years, like 40 years, he's probably 60-something. He had planted some outrageous number of pine trees. I mean, not like 10,000. We're talking like 85,000 pine trees on his property.
You're talking like in Back to the Future, Old Man Peabody.
But here's the thing: it's a pine forest, and it's got a pond in the middle of it. He can hunt deer on it, obviously, and he does. But on that property, as a building, it's a big pole building, and it's a garage underneath, and then upstairs he has basically apartments for the guys that stay out there that go hunting and fishing. Right? It's the perfect setup because you can have your vehicles right inside the house with you. Nice. All of it. It's pretty cool. That's the prepper style of living.
Dude, I want a couple of nice shipping containers, like a nice 50 feet under the ground
for your arsenal, maybe
fused together. Well, I mean,
not the living.
Well, let me ask you. And someone else said this the other day. If it becomes some super hot zone or whatever it is, EMP or just some I Am Legend scorched earth thing. Is that a scenario you really want to live and like raise your family? And we're like, not just
absolutely. I was just watching I Am Legend the other day. I was watching Will Smith go into all those houses and just collect whatever the fuck he wanted.
But I mean, that probably does appeal to you. I mean, not just you, but I mean, to that. I mean, there is some kind of like cool shit to it. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know if you remember the movie The Day After. Back when they were like hitting everybody with the whole, Russians gonna scorch earth and all that shit, and there was that movie The Day After with James Robards or whatever. It was like a national.
Never saw it. Yeah, so Red Dawn, bro, Red Dawn.
Yeah, well, see, and that followed that kind of followed that, but The Day After it had already happened. You know what I mean? Like the bomb already went off, and everyone's kind of walking around. And eventually, like it was just a sad scenario. The people who did survive, like how their life was. It was not some romantic version of living off the land and everybody's all good. And I mean, it was pretty gnarly. It was pretty freaking gnarly. So I don't know, man. Depending on the scenario, and then we talked about that, and we had that James Atwell. You know what? For whatever reason, our technical issues could not get him on. But you know how they created this archaic revival, how they made this so sexy with all the Discovery Channel, Naked and Afraid, Living Off the Land. I don't know. We'll see.
It wouldn't. Hey, look, if I had the solar and everything else in place, and had a little experience with it, I mean, we're just going to have to freeball it if things go ass end up, right?
Well, it depends on the nature of the disaster. If it's, one of those things where it's like volcanic ashes everywhere, it's like, fuck, do you really want to live through that? Or nuclear? I mean, but if it's something like this and it's, or, some kind of civil war where you really have to kind of, it's kind of a terrestrial thing and you can defend your land, and that's a little bit different.
Just tell me where the canned goods are, bro.
Well, we don't need canned goods, brother, because we have My Patriot Supply, as you know.
Good job. Good. God, you're bright. You're bright.
Well, I mean, come on, man. I shouldn't have to have told you that.
But yeah, Supply.
Prepare with the farm, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare with the farm and go check out the supply that they absolutely have. Just amazing stuff, along with the other sponsors. But yeah,
go to the website. Click on the link.
There you go. That's the best way to do
it. Ready, because we have My Patriot Supply in my basement, so I'm ready to eat that. And look, if I get lucky enough to shoot a deer or two, I'll eat that too.
Well, and we have fire insurance, house insurance. Some have life insurance. It's like, why not have, whatever it is, whether it's an earthquake or an EMP or something like this, and you can't go out of the house. I mean, honestly, Champ, straight up, dude. I mean, literally, like I said, the language they're laying on us right now is like, no, it's, they're literally telling us kind of to freak out, but not freak out. Because literally from the CDC, they're saying if you don't have to send your kids to school, basically don't. If you have meetings with your businesses, do them telecommunication-wise, like don't go to work. So they're like laying it out already. So it's like...
But here's the thing. So you have been a big believer that Trump is just an actor. He is the greatest actor, by the way, if he is. And he taught Vince how to be Vince McMahon, as you pointed out many times on this show.
Yes.
Are we watching a play or orchestrated? I don't believe we are. I truly believe that we have some very evil people within the government. And I think while Trump is not an angel, of course, I think he actually feels this is the legacy he needs to leave behind.
I think and you could be right. I may be wrong. You could be right. I think
But what I'm saying, here's the thing: if you're right, in the WWE, they constantly have to one up themselves when they, pull off these, little soap opera-ish, it's impressive. I mean, because a lot of these people can act actually very well, right? And so it's a grown man soap opera, right?
But again, when we've talked about, bro, over these last 3-4 years, and these conspicuous resignations. Wow, why isn't Jack Ryan or what? Not Jack Ryan, the guy. I'm sorry, I fucked his name up. Anyway, why are these senators and congressmen not running again? They're just dipping out, resigning, and not running again. And we all thought it was like Q because Q was coming after him.
You're thinking about Ryan, that was the Speaker of the
House. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know his name, I should know it.
But from Wisconsin.
Yes, exactly. But I'm just saying, are these guys dipping out because they were hip to? Because again, they all play not all, but most of them play the long game, and a lot of them can easily get hip to what's going on. So it's like, I just throw that into the.
Maybe they were guilty of. Maybe they knew that they were guilty of some very corrupt things, and they better get out while they could.
Well, and that was the first consensus. So these guys dipping out because the cue and the hammer's going to drop, or from the larger standpoint, did they know that there was going to be some larger scorched earth? Because I'm telling you, people are hitting Champ. We've talked about this. The Georgia Guidestones. People are hitting me up with it. Like they're saying, this is it. This is it. But as we've seen, not everybody's going to die from this. This is not full on fucking Ebola or whatever else. There's only a certain, if the trend stays the way it is now, we're only going to see a certain percentage of people dying, which is now 2%. And if, according to George Pardos, his epidemiology is correct on who is going to be affected by this, it's going to be basically people who don't carry.
His epidemiology is where you cut out there for a second. I apologize. Where you said his epidemiology.
If his epidemiology is on point, it will only affect people who don't carry that Neanderthal gene as far as like mortality rates. So we will see, and that's really only a time will tell. I was so fascinated hearing George say that last night. And then it really disbanded the whole
Chinese, Mongolians into Pakistan.
Yes.
Also, the Persians do not have the Neanderthal gene, he said, or enough of it. Here's the interesting thing. You pointed out somebody died today.
The Iranian ambassador to the Vatican, I believe. If there's even a post, I saw
the Iranian ambassador to
the Vatican. The guy's
to
name,
the Vatican, and now the Pope is sick.
Because in Italy, I mean, obviously we've heard they've shut down pretty much a whole portion of some of their northern areas because of this. So it's like, I mean, again, someone brought something. More people. We lose 50,000 people a year to the opioid crisis and to heroin. That's the Vietnam War every year. And we're not even close to those numbers, and we're hearing all of this, these horns of Gondor and these alarm signs sounding. I'm not saying don't, because it could be very dangerous, but I'm just like, like George was saying last night, we're not seeing Spanish flu type epidemic numbers.
Right. Hey, so just so you know, not to get off on a tangent here, but I think this is important. I just got a text message from a friend in Fargo, North Dakota, who pointed out they filmed somebody at the gym or something that said he's a Conspiracy Farm fan who lives in Fargo now, but is from South Africa. So we have a Conspiracy Farm fan up in Fargo from South Africa. I'm going to play this video of him talking. Let's see what he says.
Hey, I'm Pete, and I listen to the Conspiracy Forum. I like it a lot, and have very similar thoughts and very similar theories, but we are considered conspiracy theorists because of that, and not everybody understands it. But I'm from South Africa originally, and coming to this country and the US has broadened my spectrum of view very, very much, and I just see a lot of times how sheltered people are. We are living in a bubble, and the truth might be staring them right in the face, and they never even see it, or just don't have the ability to understand just the deeper context of what's going on. And I love what you guys do.
How cool is that, bro?
That's cool shit. I missed a little bit, but I mean but essentially in the middle he was saying because we're conspiracy. I didn't quite make it all up, but he was saying because you're conspiracy theorists, people don't take you as serious, and we've talked about that forever, and hopefully we're
well. And he said, these people will have it literally the facts staring them straight in the face.
Yes,
and they will not see it. They will not see it. And he just said, from South Africa, love what you guys do, man. Keep it up, all that. So that's cool.
But no, that's cool. I mean, like I said, we get messages. I don't like to use the words being right and telling truth, even though we have truths to a lot of. We're all saying the same stuff, man. We all just want the same stuff for ourselves, our kids, our families, and we're just sick of being freaking lied to. That's why it's so crazy. People are using so much more of the whole Stockholm syndrome notion of the things that are going. I mean, it's like we just make excuses for our abusers oftentimes, and it's everyone's really tired of it.
Don't make excuses, man. And I've had people lose their temper with me.
I mean, that's going to happen.
Please, God, just one of the funniest ones was I was with my executive producer at the time, not Daryl. After Daryl passed away, Jason. And I'm sitting in the back seat. It's after we did a live broadcast, and we're driving like 45 minutes back to our hotel towards the airport because we're going to fly out early the next morning. I go, hey, man, because I know that he hates conspiracies because they freak him out, when he hears them.
Yeah.
And so I like messing with him. And I go, hey, man, have you heard about the Anunnakis? And the Sumerian Kings list?
Wow.
And I go, and the Emerald Tablets, bro. He goes, Pat, stop it. Stop it. Just don't do it. Stop it. And I go, why don't you want to learn about this stuff? He goes, because I want to sleep at night.
And that's usually how it is, man. That's usually how.
I get it because I've had this stuff swirling in my head and going, wow, I can't believe that. Especially early on when once your eyes open and your brain opens to this stuff and you go, wow.
Well, and you were saying, I mean, we, like I said, and I hate to keep lamenting it, but we get messages all the time. But you in down home Iowa at the local Hy-Vee, which is Schnucks or High-Low or whatever grocery store you have, you would have people coming up to you, housewives of sorts, and be like, wow, I had my mind blown a little bit.
Yeah. So do you remember I was looking for scratch paper to write some notes for the show tonight. And you know what I stumbled upon? Some copious notes and files on the Sarnaevs, some facts.
Well, you got to fill that in there, big brain.
I can't say who sent it, but
who are the Sarnaevs, Champ? Let's fill everybody in. Who are the Sarnaevs?
The Sarnaevs are the two brothers that pulled off the Boston bombing and were on the FBI payroll and
had CIA ties, etc.
Yeah, the older brother was in Chechnya at a terrorist training facility when it was attacked by Russian Spetsnaz soldiers. He was one of the guys that escaped, and his passport was found in the terrorist training facility in Chechnya.
Right.
And he somehow was able to get back into the United States with the assistance of some federal agents, apparently, and continued on his way.
Well, their uncle Ruslan, lived with Graham Fuller, his name, who was a CIA employee who basically controlled a certain region of the stands and the former Soviet republics, etc., for the CIA to radicalize. Their whole role was to radicalize individuals, etc. It's not just a conspiracy theory. Go look it up. But yeah, good times. Good times.
Yeah. So you're getting the email with the young man from South Africa.
Yeah, and we'll add that audio in.
Get that. Anyway, we don't want to go off on an old tangent there. Eventually,
no, we're freeballing. That's, I mean, honestly, that Champ, this is what we're talking about. Moving into the 2020 election, it's not about us choking on our. I'm sorry, let's just put it more delicately, patting ourselves on their own back. That's not what we're saying. We are been having conversations about.
That was actually very good by you. I mean, that was a smooth transition there.
What's that?
When you put on the brakes there and went a more diplomatic route.
Yeah, well, I mean, just because, I mean, it's really about just look at, my thing is, it's all freaking wrestling. Not that they're all cool and blah, 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 blah. It's almost like, mafia families fighting for the block is what we're looking at. And, moving into 2020, Jesus, again, last year we were talking about how crazy the measles thing was in New York and how, hey, we're just one step away from a crazy outbreak. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen is mass inoculation, but these things are happening. A shooting at the brewery. And what did I said we're going to be seeing more shootings, more just everything across the board is going to be going nuts leading into the 2020 election. So just buckle up. And we all can't just be, well, yeah, they're going to try to fuse it through everything political and all the things they have us divided on. But
it's going to get crazy, and that's the.
It already is. It already is. I mean,
well, think about that. How big are they going to blow this coronavirus thing up? It's trippy stuff, bro. Trippy stuff.
I mean, again, not even just the fact that we're all just one outbreak away from whatever. I mean, look at the economic implications that are already happening. If they really for me, what I'm seeing, there's no end in sight. Everything is kind of escalating as much as they're saying, no, the diagnoses are going down. I heard today I'm in St. Louis, Missouri. And 30 miles away, there's a place called Belleville, Illinois. And in the news today, there's supposedly tests being going on, not to scare or whatever. I guess we're going to have to wait 2 days to find out. Anyway, someone's being tested for possible corona here in Belleville, Illinois, which is 30 miles from St. Louis. So, again, like they said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of, when. It's going to happen.
Well,
but
here's NBC News, the website. Here's some of the headlines. Coronavirus outbreak spread sparks fears for American travelers. Here's another one. After mystery coronavirus case, health officials go into detective mode.
Well, and if you listen to the language everybody's using,
as the outbreak spreads,
if you listen to the language that they're using, they're kind of spreading fear without saying like, holy fuck. I literally, a young lady that I work with, she's been planning for a year to go to Japan. And she found out, I think a week ago, that it's been canceled. And the moment I was talking to her, I happened to be in an establishment where there's a bunch of TVs. I turned to my right and was watching what was going on the TV. And at the bottom, across the bottom, how they stream news, it said the women's world hockey team their trip to Japan was canceled as well. So not only did this young lady get news of her just university trip being canceled to Japan, I mean, the travel stuff's already going on, which is obviously, as we seeing, are
if they
seeing.
try to lock us down here in the United States from traveling around the country, I'm going to go, this is bullshit.
But bro, that's what I'm saying. They're incrementally hitting. I mean, they just said the other day, the Korean airline person in L.A. Are you kidding me? That's not Council Bluffs, Iowa. That's fucking L.A. And with the whole incubation period or whatever they're saying now, that you could have it and be contagious for 24 days now and not know you have it. That's fucking frightening because you're literally spreading it for a month. And
I got coronavirus in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You know why? You know why I say that?
You were sick. I don't know if you got corona.
I got so sick. I had the same violent shakes that I'm seeing on TV from Chinese hospitals of victims of it. I'm saying it possibly because my lungs, I'm telling you, for 10 days were soup.
Well, that was a minute. What was that?
You haven't heard anything like this before in your life.
What was it? A month or two? I mean, you would think you would have heard more outbreaks in those areas, though.
Well, was China just not telling us, dude?
Whether they were telling us or not, you had it.
Frequent casinos.
I understand, but you had it, and if you were coughing and you were
you were supposed to laugh at that point.
I'm just saying, you had it for however long, and you were on planes with your family. I mean, somebody would have had it, or had symptoms. So if you had that particular, I don't know. I'm not a fucking epidemiologist or virologist.
When I got sick,
this is flu season too, so you got to remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't flu. It was strictly
full blown.
But anyway, here's some more headlines from NBC. Management doesn't listen. Inside employee led revolt at Shutterstock. Interesting. Dow plunges nearly 1,200 points.
1,200 today, bro.
Markets diving.
3,000 in the last week.
The correction could be coming. So here's what you do. Here's what experts are saying, and it happened during the Depression. The stock market plunged a long ways, and a lot of people bought up a lot of stock.
You're gonna have that.
The wealthy people, right, who had the extra money, bought up a lot of the stock.
I made the joke. I made the joke of like what
bottomed out.
What stocks are people going to start short selling? What stocks are getting hit right now?
Right.
People betting on the fact that stocks fall. It happens. But I mean, I honestly, after having a conversation, I honestly felt better after talking to our boy George last night on our conversation. That I mean,
in what way? Why?
Well, just because it was, and not just because I necessarily felt protected, because I do have the freaking Neanderthal gene. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't think it's more. This is an asymmetrical warfare tool that's not meant to so much scorch the earth, Georgia Guidestone stuff, but it is supposed to serve a purpose as far as creating a certain amount of fear. People will get sick. People will die. And as we know, these, whatever you want to call them, architects of our society have no problem with botting some people to create a large, to fulfill a larger agenda. So I don't think it's going to be one of those, like the movie Outbreak, where they have to firebomb cities, et cetera, et cetera. It will spread. It'll get gnarly. But
now think of this. In North Korea, it is reported from an insider that they had a confirmed coronavirus in North Korea. And guess what they did with them?
Help me out.
Dude.
I don't want to... I can guess. I mean, dude, I was seeing today. Yeah. I was seeing today there are buildings being built in China where they're, and this is all could be horseshit, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just throwing this.
Where are you going? I just asked you a question.
I know, but I'm about to answer it with this. Like, they're creating buildings where they're incinerating people supposedly, and I'm thinking that's what could be happening in North Korea. They're going to.
What they do with the guy in North Korea? What did the witness say?
I don't know.
They shot him.
Yeah, and then burn them up.
They do with them. This is a zombie apocalypse, dude.
Well, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go so sideways, but it made me think of literally what I just read before we went on. That they're supposedly as they supposedly have built these 4 hospitals in China in such a short period of time to combat this in the Wuhan district. I also read today that they're seeing these facilities being built and chimneys. Smokestacks being sent off these chimneys, meaning the numbers are way higher than we think, and they're actually burning bodies.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
Well, what you do, champ, is you go make out with a Chinese chick with a bat hanging out of her mouth. That's what you do.
No, if you think about it, all these zombie apocalypse movies, this is it. If people panic that much, like they did in North Korea, and went, the mortality rate's really high. If you see one of them, shoot them.
That can
happen during the pandemic. You realize?
Yes,
right?
I know. But even these small things, like whatever the NBC nightly news I saw tonight, just the fact that you're seeing reporters wearing the face mask. From a visual, even if it's not as crazy there, you're still seeing like, oh my God, these guys are taking these precautions. And even Orange County, San Francisco calling a disaster area when no cases have been seen there.
Declaring a state of emergency.
That's what I'm saying. And someone sent me a thing.
Confirmed cases of coronavirus.
Someone sent me a thing, and this is just, we're freeballing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I literally have no notes in front of me. Someone sent me.
Are they going to start offing all the homeless people in LA County, like 75,000?
Well, and so this is what I heard. I heard supposedly this is going to grow. Trump, not being a good guy, is going to say this is a national emergency.
This will be his Katrina, 75,000 dead from coronavirus in LA streets.
Pandemic type scenario. And it, like you said, it'll be used politically to like take him down. I don't know. We'll see.
Rabbit hole, bro. Rabbit hole.
Who
knows? A lot of people would laugh at that, wouldn't they?
But I mean, we've seen it happen before. And again, we see it all the fucking time. Only through historical perspective are we like, oh no, that's so crazy. It's like, do we get it sometimes? Now when we say this, oh no. Asymmetrical warfare, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's exactly what this is. Listen to my boy George last night.
So go through
from the pathogenic genotype markers that are within this virus. We know that this is man-made. This is not natural. We know this.
Give people the definition of asymmetrical warfare.
I mean, you name it. Propaganda is asymmetrical warfare. I mean, false flag attacks are asymmetrical warfare. Anything that is not, we are so used in our culture, in our societies, we're used to, that Revolutionary War symmetrical warfare scenario, or World War I, or even, with 1917 being a recent movie. Bad guys over here lined up on this side, getting the shit blown out of them. Good, however you want to frame it. But that's
put two teams in uniforms and let them go at it.
And just let them go at it. And we've been doing that not only for, the last 100 years, but we've been seeing it play out in real time with all these different countries that are at war. It's bad PR. It's bad optics. And eventually, and I've never thought nuclear, regardless of people who think nuclear weapons weren't real, they were never going to be implemented. You always want to have that, speak softly, carry a big stick, Teddy Roosevelt type shit. But nowadays, with the global economy being so intricately interdependent, everybody needs each other. No one's going to freaking scorch the earth with radiation weapons, but they will do it. They will do it with genetic specific bioweapons.
Or now, ultimately the Georgia Guidestones you quote quite often, and keep the world population at 500 million in perpetuum, whatever. That's basically paraphrasing it. That's almost word for word. But on it is written in several languages. What is written on the Georgia Guidestones in several different languages?
I don't know, but I noticed the general consensus is bringing numbers back to a number of basically 500,000, which is huge. But it's
like the monument to eugenics,
right? And again, they may not go to that actual number. It's almost like General Wesley Clark saying we're going to take out these 5 countries in 7 years, or vice versa. I mean, the time frame and the numbers might be off a little bit, but at the end of the day, yes, eugenics is the main player of what we're seeing larger happening now, and it may happen on a different time frame than what they say, but it's definitely happening.
So what I'm saying is that even though the world economy is so intertwined, if you're one of the elites who would want to get rid of the vast majority of the population on the planet, you really wouldn't care anymore about necessarily booming economies once you've got everything you need, right? Once you're living on New Zealand in a castle and you have everything you need, you can waste the people and a lot of
the people who are going to be running everything as this reset happens. They don't need the dough. It's just all about control, and they just want less motherfuckers to control. It's never about necessarily accumulating more wealth, because they have all the wealth they need. But as we move into this next,
while you and I are working on saving enough money to send our kids to college, these people are planning for takeovers of like the gold of Nigeria.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. They're harvesting this algorithmic information. Information is the new, data is the new oil. You know what I mean? That's why it's just like
think about the Clintons, how they would roll into a country like they did in Haiti after the earthquake. Their brother ends up owning the rights to the gold mine in Haiti, and they build like 17 houses and skedaddle with all the donations to the Clinton Foundation.
Well, and then
Billions,
try to
billions
skedaddle
of
with
dollars.
some kids too, with Laura Silsby with her 70 kids.
Sneaking
Trying
the 30 kids or whatever across,
yeah,
trying to sneak them into the public. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
It's the world we live in, dude. It's the
So
freaking
anyway,
world we live in. Well, and like, look at what's going on now, man. I mean, you know, Bernie supposedly neck and neck with Trump, done whoop some ass in Iowa and New Hampshire and now Nevada and moving into South Carolina. I mean, what's happening there? Are they trying to create this notion of a Trump Bernie thing? Like, is that going to happen? It seems like that's what's inevitable, but
wow.
that seems so like
it's bizarre. It's so bizarre, dude. It's so bizarre to even picture those debates.
Yeah, see again. That's bizarre. Champ. I'm a big thing on the long game social engineering people. Like they're not creating. There's no gray in this anymore. You know what I mean? Everything is to the extreme. There's no middle ground people with any, like I said, I've never, regardless of what side you're on, I've never seen the Democratic Party get so hijacked by such extreme work. I mean, again, we can have this conversation, but, these freshman congresswomen, whatever they call them, the brood or what the fuck, the tribe or
AOC is a psyop, bro.
Yeah, all of that. I mean, all of that. But I've just never seen like the upper echelon just like, yeah, let's go ahead and let these young whatever men, women, fresh people, Congress people define who we are. I mean, so it's just like it just for me, it's always seemed like wrestling. It all has seemed like a work, like something else is going on. Like I just alluded to, like, and I could be wrong. Did these senators and Congress people not run again? Did they resign because they knew something was coming, whether it was indictments from Q and all that other shit or something larger? And none of that could even be possibly happening, but shit just seems off.
Listen, dude, listen. I mean, the people that are voting for Bernie, now think of this. Everywhere from people who are on the government dole, period, maybe generationally raised, all the way up to the guy that went to Hollywood because he was the greatest actor at the junior college and knew he was going to be a fucking star in Hollywood, got out there, got used and abused, never got a job, and is bartending somewhere. And
are you talking about anybody in particular?
Every once in a while, a star shows up at the bar and he's pissed and he's voting for Bernie because he wants his. Those are the people that are voting for Bernie. Right?
It's and I'm not, this could cause some consternation, but how I fuck with Bernie, the only thing, and I've said this before, is his indictment of the oligarchs, of letting us know that this is not a democracy per se as we know it. It's an oligarchy. There's a few
not
running the many.
Capitalism. Not true capitalism.
Not true capitalism. I mean, and that's just on its face. Like, and we do have elements of socialism in our society, and that's that's another thing. That's another thing we need to do is have on this show so we can start really qualifying this conversation, because everything, like even Bernie Sanders says, everything is kind of fused through the lens of this notion of Leninist, Stalinist, Pol Pot, fucking Mao Zedong, and I don't know if I can only imagine that's not the case, that he's trying to create gulags of fucking tens of millions of people being killed, because that's what happened.
Dude, that guy has been a ward of the state his entire fucking life. He will go that route in a heartbeat. He will go that route in a heartbeat if he could.
Of calling tens of millions of people, like killing people?
100%, because that's the only way you can enforce that type of government. You have to kill massive amounts of people. You have to rule by true force. You can't force free people into that lifestyle without a fight. And it's going to be a fight, especially here. They still have not gotten the guns, and that is very, very important. If they get the guns, then it's over. And
that's another huge part of it. Again, I think that's been a part of the engineering, the whole going after the Second Amendment, because you look at how it's all played out. In my opinion, I just try to err on the side of humanity. Man, they could never fucking be that horrible again. But anyway, even if they do, we look at precursors in history when they do disarm the people and they try to implement this authoritarian type shit. You have no way to protect yourself, so you're fucked. And again, it's not about, I've heard people say, it's not about us going against the government per se as far as, gun for gun, because obviously their guns are bigger. But, you know what I mean?
Well, look, you're not going to order your military to destroy your own country. You're just not.
No,
You're just
no.
not.
But
And-
as far as
and
as far as
how many
people protecting their
military-
rights, it's not about whether you can match them per se. It's about just I want to have the means to be able to protect myself if that's what has to happen, whether it's against the military or whomever else. But don't take my ability to be able to defend myself. That's, I mean, if we look at history, that's what's happened. The people in the cultures and societies who have fallen have not been able to defend themselves, whether it's global, governmentally, from a, whatever they say, a democide is how people have most died in, our society. Democide is like government killing people.
You want to hear what I'm trying to remember? A liberal media person, a lady, said, "Oh my God, the NRA is so evil. They're now targeting minorities, blacks, Latinos, this and that, with marketing and all this other stuff." And everybody goes, "What, you mean Latinos and blacks aren't allowed to fucking defend themselves?"
Right.
What is your problem here? It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, buy a gun. Absolutely. I don't care who you are. If you're a law-abiding citizen, I want you to have a gun. 100%.
Well, and then it gets into, whether, people believe in the larger narrative of demonizing people who want to defend themselves or self-sufficiency. This shit we talk about all the time. It's no accident that they're slowly, and it's never, what's it called? The death by 1,000 cuts or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it never just happens.
The middle class is being fucking butchered right now.
But it's never just one fell swoop. It's like a death by 1,000 slices or cuts.
Oh,
where,
yeah. It's been gradual, man. I've watched it.
Gradual as fuck.
Yeah. So it's, you think about it, taxes alone are a nightmare when you're incorporated in business for yourself. I mean, it's a pain in the ass. And then, geez, healthcare. Would I spend on healthcare a month to take care of my 3 daughters and my wife and myself, and to have the deductible the size it is, it's robbery.
Yeah, well, again, let me ask you, because again, I want to have this conversation, and we've talked, and Jesus, I hate to sound like this again, but AOC said something, and we've talked about why are we only broke, and I'm not talking about why public money should be spent for, anyway, we have trillions of dollars, tens, 20s of hundreds, trillions of dollars that we're fucking engaged in war. We're never broke when it comes to that. Why is that?
Well, you got to close down those schools and lay off those teachers, bro. It's
no, I'm not even saying that. Like, but why are we? The day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld, like, hey, we're holy shit, Donald Rumsfeld of all fucking people's like, you know what? God damn it, we're missing $4 fucking trillion. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh shit, as if he lost somebody's phone number or some shit. You know what I mean? And so, from the larger standpoint, and again, this goes beyond right, left, ladies and gentlemen. This is the military, industrial, pharmaceutical, telecommunication complex that is playing us all up against both sides, but is spending hella money that we don't fucking have.
I can't hear you if you're continuing to talk, Jeffrey. After you said it says connection lost, there was a problem with the network. Good job. You were talking about.
My point is, if you hear me now,
did you hear me talking at all?
I did.
You heard me saying that I lost you?
I did.
You did not?
I did hear you.
Okay, because I couldn't hear you the entire time.
That's all right. Everyone else heard me. So it's all good.
Keep going, man. Sorry.
No, it's just, the larger thing is, it's just, we have to be intellectually honest. You know what I mean? If we want freedom, for most, for everyone, right? For our women, our children, our families, et cetera, we have to be holding these people accountable, not just when they start talking about, public social programs or whatever. We have more way more corporate welfare than we do social welfare, but we don't hear shit about that as much. We see these fucking illegal, fucked up wars that we talked about all the time. Dude, and it just really straight up fucking pisses me off because we've lost our fucking family members in some of this bullshit that we've just spent so much fucking money on that we know has been bullshit. I get we need to protect our country, et cetera, but I'm just saying, dude, the amount of time, we've not been in any other war in Afghanistan, all these other places. We know what happened in Benghazi. We're going to be talking to Chris Peranto again here in a couple days. This has all been trillions of dollars that we've paid for, but for some reason we're not as pissed at that.
You sounded a little like Eddie at that point.
Eddie Bravo?
Trillions of dollars.
Seriously, we talk about how we going to pay for this Green New Deal. How the fuck have we been paying for these wars the last 20 years?
Well, because we're in massive debt. But nonetheless,
it's not about it,
seems
for
to
me. It's
ring
not
with
about
people-
capitalist socialism. It's just about intellectual honesty and holding people accountable who are just blowing fucking money we don't have, and oftentimes on dumb
Sure,
shit that just
absolutely.
make us
I
having to
agree.
keep spending more money to justify spending more money down the line.
That's ultimately how they kill the country is keep spending. That's
And
how that
shit
goes
like
down.
this, you know what I mean? As far as Corona, and I mean, it's like, yeah. Sorry.
But what seems to catch people's attention as far as when I talk to them is I just look at people and I go, how much freedom are you willing to leave your children with, or lack thereof?
Right.
You know, what level of freedom are you leaving your children? Do you leave your children when you die in a country of full-blown socialism, or even, dare I say, communism potentially?
Yes.
As the feeding frenzy continues.
And no one should be able to deprive you of that. As these different...
There shouldn't be a single man out there, a red-blooded American man, who shouldn't be willing to actually pick up and defend freedom at that point. Pick something up, a tool, and go to work to protect freedom in this country and set things straight. Now, everybody's got a different idea of what straight's supposed to be. My idea of freedom is no country, no national, no government involvement in private sector. You know, simple regulations and take your hands off the wheel and let people alone. The small guy can't even start and compete with any of the big corporations, even if they come up with any kind of invention that could revolutionize something. They get shut down, man. They get pushed out. The regulations choke them out. They can't afford it. You know, it's impossible. So the regulations need to go away, and you know, a lot of people freak out about that because then it's suddenly drilling in national parks. That's not something I'm for. But
no, I
I'm just
mean,
saying.
but still, the price tag again of these trillions of dollars of these wars that we've spoken about have been bullshit. Why? I mean, we're paying for that. Trillions. It's not just some side note. That's the fucking, you know, it goes to the heart of kind of what we've all talked about, of these false narratives that they create. I'm not saying Islamic fundamentalism isn't real, but I could tell you, I can almost fucking guarantee you they would not be near as successful and as implemented in their offensive strategies had we not been paying for them and helping them. And when I say us, like us and Western forces, dude, again, trillions of fucking dollars. Trillions.
Well, I can tell you that there's a lot of people sitting in different places in the world that are doing business because of warfare, right? So
that's what it is, man. That's Smedley Butler.
It's a group of very powerful people, and you know, you and I probably don't want to fuck with those people.
It's not even, well, bro, I mean, come on. Is that what we're going to do now? We're just going to, like, call fucking whoever else is saying socialism and, you know, Green New Deal, how are we going to pay for this while writing a fucking price tag or writing a blank paycheck for all of this shit? We've all been writing it or for, you know, these last 20,
so let's talk about,
since 9/11, essentially.
Let's talk about the solution instead of the problem. So a monetary reset that may be coming, right? We know, like I said, Deutsche Bank's in its death throes, most likely. We could have go to digital currency. We could go to a whole new monetary system altogether that's backed by, you know, Trump has hinted around at you know, he does not like the Federal Reserve. I've said from the beginning of his presidency that if he makes it into a second term, he will eventually kill the Federal Reserve. And does that come because, you know, a monetary reset happens and he says, nah, we're going to go ahead and print our own treasury notes and it's going to be backed by this gold?
I don't, yeah. I mean, again,
I'm telling you, dude, the conversations I've had, I can't tell you, I can't even say what country they're from, but he's part of one of the royal families of a country. He has sent me a lot of material, and I've sent some of it to you about this nation's gold stores, about the conflict that it had with Obama, because the way Obama wanted to structure financial stuff with this gold. And we can say that Trump is well liked by these people. So I'm just saying there's a lot of
and honestly, I think that particular aspect of that conversation goes to a large part asymmetric warfare, what we're talking about. This stuff with the coronavirus is not just about destabilizing the economy. It's the same shit we've been talking about for the last 2-3 years. One belt, one road. Look at these particular areas where this stuff is happening and how the one belt, one belt, one road is going through this area. It's all about destabilization. It's, like problem, reaction, solution.
Is the coronavirus a terrorist attack on the Chinese economy to bring them to their knees, to make them agree to what the terms that Trump wants for the trade deal? They're hurting so bad that they have to take it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, he's been doing pretty good as far as getting those particular company or China to get into the whole trade deal of whatever he had going on. But yeah, I mean, this is the asymmetrical warfare aspect of the ripple effect is more. I mean, this is that long game destabilization, and I'm glad you actually brought that up with that particular country, because that's what it's really about. There's just a lot of layers to this, man. There's a lot of layers to this, and we're going to see it play out. But again, it doesn't even have to be a real thing as far as they're going to kill everybody. It's just creating that certain fear, because that problem, reaction, solution methodology, we're already seeing it happen, dude. 1,200 points. This is supposedly the largest single-day hit on the New York Stock Exchange today. And even if it's based off of fear, which usually those kind of losses are, dude, I mean, this is just the beginning.
I have a book that's not completely done that starts with the collapse of the stock market and China selling off all of its treasury notes and total financial implosion happening. And it combines a little bit of I combine some tier one operators, or almost like a Blackwater type company, and one other element that I don't even want to say, because anybody that has half a brain and one eye and half a brain could put it together and go, actually, that's a really good idea. I'm going to go ahead and write that.
You've been since we've been linking up from a business standpoint. I've been hearing about this book, and you are exactly right.
I got to a point where I hit a block, and I thought about it for a while, and I left it. I left it for a while. Trump changed the game so much that the book is relevant, even more so now today. But I wish I could have seen into the future a little bit more and continued on it, because this is how the book starts. It is very close to this, so it's very interesting.
Well, and again, one of these, whatever situation it is, whether it's the Gulf of Tonkin, these. The fog of war that it's happening, and this is what happened not too long ago with Soleimani. Who's on whose side, et cetera, et cetera. Did the Chinese do this? Did the U.S. do this to the Chinese? Please do as much as you can, not just to pay attention to the news, but try to extrapolate the bullshit from the news, see what's going on. In my opinion, with the fear factor for me, that whatever it is, the deciding factor is the mortality rate. How many people are actually dying? Because from like I said, George made me feel a lot better last night as far as who's going to be. You can get this stuff, but who's going to be really dying from this is another story. But again, as we move into this 2020 election, dude.
People with compromised immune systems, the elderly.
Always. And that's always, 60. Trump wasn't wrong at this thing, 60,000 a year. But again, we're getting 50,000 a year from the heroin epidemic. So it's just like, let's look at the numbers, what's really happening. Because that's what I really wanted to ask George at the end of our conversation, bro. It's like, what's the fear factor rate? Like, when are you going to be freaked out? And he said pretty much, like I said, like once the mortality rate numbers start going way up, that's the kind of when you freak out. But don't think they're not. What was his name? Rahm Emanuel or Saul Alinsky. Never be afraid to benefit from a situation, or however they said, you know what I mean? They're going to try to benefit from these.
Benefit from a crisis.
Benefit
Never let
from
a
a
good
crisis.
go to waste.
There we go. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Yes.
My words.
I do have somewhat of a memory after being punched in the head.
My words escaped me.
I remember a few things.
But there's always that. There's always that aspect.
Break.
There's always that aspect to this, and I want to just go back to what I said. And I'm not. Again, I'm an idiot. But when asymmetric warfare happens, you're always like, "What? What's going on?" And you never really know that it's happening when it happens. We're all asking ourselves, is this man-made? Is it whatever? But the larger implications are having its effect, the global economy, et cetera, et cetera. So
you're speaking like a layman, and we're not laymen, so I don't understand what you're saying, because you and I know this was a lab-created virus that only kills a certain type of DNA.
I'm talking to the friends, families, and farmers and listeners who have been listening to these last several months of like...
But see, you're confusing them now, like you're going back to when you didn't understand these things.
Well, no, I'm just saying, I'm almost, again, not patting ourselves on the back, but like, again, leading up to this 2020 election, we're going to be seeing more of this. Like I said, we just had a shooting the other day, or yesterday. All of this, we're going to be seeing more of this kind of shit leading up to the election. Yes, some stuff just happens in life. I get it. But please, asymmetrical fucking warfare. We're not Nostradamus, but I'm just saying, when asymmetrical warfare happens, you never know. It's never an overt, like, boom, they just threw a grenade. That happened. It's always some, whether it's propaganda or cyber warfare or biological warfare. They always, if they do it, and then everyone else is scratching their head saying, well, who did what? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? The same conversation we're having now. Did China do it to itself? Did the CIA do it? I mean, but at the end of the day, the chess game is still in play.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, what other topics do you want to talk about? I don't know. Mayor Pete, bringing the kid on stage and helping a 9-year-old come out as gay, apparently, was happening.
I didn't
Which
see.
is kind of interesting because, look, I don't care if you're gay. I don't care what you do behind closed doors. I don't care what you do behind closed doors with your sex life. That's up to you. But a 9-year-old before his testosterone is kicked in, being raised as gay, okay. We got to take a step back and go, hold on. What happens if we raise him as a gay kid, and then his testosterone kicks in when he's 13, and suddenly he's getting hard-ons around the girls? Yeah. And now he's really confused. That's not a laughing matter.
No, it's not. It's the over-sexualizing of our kids, and we've had these conversations before, and I don't give a fuck. I mean,
leave the kids alone. Don't sexualize them either.
The drag queen, and that's the thing. They fuse you don't like drag queens? I don't give a fuck if you're a drag queen, but don't go into like reading to kids and then just make it seem like it's all about just this person reading. Because those kids, like you said, whose minds emotionally, like, why do we have these punitive measures as far as?
Dude, think about it. Mainstream media, the fucking NBC, the Today Show, and CBS had on a little boy dressed as a hooker doing striptease on national television.
I've seen numerous different iterations of that from, absolutely, dude, absolutely. And it's not okay. It's fucking absolutely not.
They're allowed to give these kids hormone treatments before they even go through puberty. Yeah. So suppressing it so it never happens because of what you want your kid to be. Think of that. That Charlize Theron or whatever. What's that actress's name?
Charlize Theron?
Adopted 2 young black boys from, I don't even know what country she adopted these poor kids from, and is raising them both as girls, man. They're in dresses but got bows in their hair and all kinds of shit. And I'm going, you know what? This is some fucked up stuff. Look,
you're not serious right now.
This is sexualizing children, period, right?
What, hold on. Charlize Theron has adopted 2 African boys and is raising
them as girls. Google it, dude.
That's real.
Google it.
All right.
If I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, I mean, I'm not. That's the world we live in, bro. I mean, I'm not saying it is, but I'm not. Again, whatever you do when you're home, I'm thinking of Dwayne Wade and his wife. I forget her name, the actress. I'm sorry, but anyway, their son. I'm using the wrong words. Anyway, their son is that they start raising as a binary or non-binary. Again, I could be completely off my rocker, but again, this is one of those early.
Can you see me? Can you see me?
Can I what?
Can you see me?
I don't have my camera on, or I have my camera up here.
I'm showing you the picture of Charlize Theron with her 2 sons.
Oh.
With dresses, pink dresses on.
Do what the fuck you want to do. Do what you want. I'm just saying,
I don't get it, dude. It's not cool to do. Period.
Yeah.
Like I said, when you're an adult and you want to make your decisions, do what you want.
It again, when you start trying to make these physiological and biological decisions, especially for kids whose bodies aren't even really, you know,
that's what the Nazis did to Jewish children. They experimented on them like that.
Yeah. I mean, again, and they try to fuse it like, well, you're not accepting of however. I don't give a fuck what you do as long as you're not harming children. But in my opinion, in some of these instances, I mean, this, like you said, these guys, and this goes into the larger what we talked about pharmaceutically. You're giving these kids fucking, pharmaceuticals and rewiring their brains so when they're adults and ready to not do. I mean, much to be talked about, man. Much to be fucking talked about because this shit. I mean, it's just off the rack. But
so anyway, I again don't call me a homophobe or
but again, that's what they want to do.
It's just fucking wrong to do kids. Period.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with that, dude. I'm with that. I have my it's weird because I don't know what's going on with kids today. I have my youngest daughter who's been being bullied. She's 12. My youngest daughter's 12, and she's being bullied by this. If anybody knows, I'm dating myself, but from different strokes, like the Gooch. The Gooch was the big bully that bullied Arnold, and so I have a female Gooch bullying my daughter because she's hot for my daughter, and like she's this like super physically kind of bull dyke gal at 12. And so
that's interesting.
She's hitting on her like she's whatever, pulling on her hair and dipping in the ink like the old days. But I don't know, man. We live in such a very interesting world right now, Champ. So many things on our plate that we've discussed from all of this shit. The stuff that's going on with the kids, the Franklin School, what's going on with CPS, the overdoping of our kids. What we're talking about tonight with the corona. I mean, there's so much shit going on.
I just got a message from somebody said, I see you talking about Neanderthal gene versus coronavirus. Please include links to research. And it has PTs very concerned.
PTs?
Yeah. Physical therapists. As a physical therapist.
But again, like I even stressed last night.
I directed them to do. I want people to do their own research. This is what I do now.
Yes.
I do not send people links because a lot of times if you send it to them, they won't confirm it themselves. So I make people hunt for stuff and do the homework themselves.
Yes.
And because when they do that, they discover it.
And I'm glad you said that because George hit me up today when I was at work. Like, how do you think the episode went last night? I'm like, I think it went really good. And the feedback I'm getting and the numbers are absolutely fantastic. But as always, with everything we talk about on our show, ladies and gentlemen, like Pat just said, we kind of just plant the seed, and then whatever our whole line is.
Do your own research.
Do your own research.
Please,
not even just prove. I mean, just inform your mind because this is our thing. This is what we do. And it's not everybody has the time to fill in these gaps like we do. So it's like it's kind of up to you as we plant the seeds to go and at least kind of fill in the gaps because obviously we can't do everything. But, getting that initial understanding of like, man,
it's planting seeds. This is what I just did. I said, look up the patent on the strain, then look at who is most at risk from that strain. So,
and that'll be so interesting to see, bro. From George, that'll be so interesting to see from George is kind of breaking that down as far as like watch who dies from this. And if it goes along that kind of, like he said, genotype strain of people who have, basically Northern Europeans, et cetera, et cetera. If you have people who are dying are mostly like Asian, South Asian, Southeast Asian, possibly African. But it was interesting where
Pakistan.
He was... Yes, Iranian. But it was interesting where he was saying how certain genetic markers wind up in certain diametric areas at different spots. And of course, that gets into, like we talked about last night, just breeding throughout centuries and generations and how that happens. But it will be interesting to see where the deaths happen as far as this goes. If it goes along that kind of Neanderthalic, who lacks that gene,
right, and where that line starts. You look at there was a lot of interbreeding. I mean, there ultimately had to be. In former Yugoslavia, you got the Bosnia-Herzegovina more Islamic state. You've got the Serbs and the Croats, which are
when that's what I was saying. Did I go back to kind of the fall of the more Latin Roman Empire?
The Neanderthal gene got intertwined with some of the Middle Eastern gene in that region, and a lot of people are healthy until you move further away from that toward the Middle East, and then you see people starting to drop like flies.
Yeah, and that mix kind of start happening again with that fall of the Roman Empire into the Byzantium, the Turkish area start mixing in that kind of Germanic tribe area. I mean, that's
where the Ottoman Empire got stopped.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why that Bosnia-Herzegovina exists.
And that's so fascinating. If these people who've designed these weapons because we know this is a genetic-specific bioweapon. It's not a conjecture. That's what this is. So it's like, I wonder where they define those geographic lines of who's affected. And even if it's not geographically, these people who might still be affected are all over the world. You know what I mean? Originally, they might have been geographically in this area, but they might be wherever now, but still genotypically still marked.
Global population control, or
we'll see. We'll see. Or like I said, asymmetrical warfare, doing like a soft kind of, somewhat of a soft kill for political means. You know what I mean? Could they blame this pandemic or whatever they're going to call it and the subsequent economic kind of collapse over the next few months on Trump, just to bring in for political expediency? Is that possible? We know it's possible, but is that what's happening?
Yeah, well, stock market.
That's what people are saying to me. This is all political, and we said last night, like, look at who was sounding the horn of Gondor for the CDC last night. Rod Rosenstein's sister. Like, again.
Now, who was Rod Rosenstein, Jeffrey?
Yeah, the Deputy Attorney General for the Department of Justice, who had a hard-on for Trump back in the day.
Brought on by Barack Obama?
We'll see. We'll see.
No, was he brought on by Barack Obama?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Was he?
I believe he was appointed by Barack Obama in that position, wasn't he?
Okay, yeah, I just know him from, like, obviously with the whole situation was going on with Trump, and, he was going to be fired by Trump, but didn't. But, again, recognizing his sister as being a player, just whether tangentially or whatever, in, this thing spreading, at least she's saying, hey, this...
Do you think we're going to see perp walks from the silent coup attempt on Trump's presidency?
I don't know.
None?
No. Why would we?
Not even Brennan?
Well, I mean,
Comey?
come on. Why would we? You got Flynn get his hemmed up. You got Manafort got hemmed up. You got Stone about to do however many months. And they did nothing related to any of that. Why would anybody who actually had something to do with it do some time when the people...
I don't know. Are they trying to get people to revolt? I mean, if we were like Antifa, if constitutional Americans were like Antifa, the hashtag no perp walks, no peace would be going nuts.
Ooh, Jim. That's a T-shirt.
You want to start that on
That's a T-shirt. That's a hashtag. Yo, ladies and gentlemen,
no peace.
You heard the champ drop it right here. Seriously, because that's what I mean. Honestly, I always thought Q was horse shit, and I still think Q is horse shit. But I'm just saying,
get a little CIA funding for a revolution. I mean, Antifa's getting some money from you guys. I mean, come on.
But again, like you said, the larger question: why is Flynn why'd Flynn get hemmed up? Why'd Manafort get hemmed up? Why is now Storm hemmed up? And this bitch Hillary, possibly, even if she does it, gonna maybe run for president. And what was her boy?
Dude, the Kuru has advanced too much on Hillary Clinton. She cannot run for president.
The Coup Crew. That's another T-shirt. The Coup Crew. We need to have that.
Kuru.
We need to have something like that.
What Kuru is?
What's Kuru?
You know what? You don't know what Kuru is.
Spell it for me.
Kuru. Look it up. Look it up and read it. Read the definition.
Is that like Sue Woo?
This is what I believe Hillary Clinton is suffering from.
Oh yeah, I did see that. You oh yeah, you did. Yes. But she did. That's so weird. This bitch was shaking like dice. Her whole summer leading up to her thing in 2016. Now she's out, Trevor Noah, Howard Stern, doing all this press shit. She only looked half as good as she has. She hasn't looked that good these last few months doing this media tour as she did in 2016. Fucking not shitting her. I mean, she's literally shitting herself in public, having to be carried onto a fucking SUV. I mean, could you look any worse running for president? She was literally. They were doing B-roll for like, I've fallen and I can't get up, but I'm running for president. It's like
it was brutal. Yeah. So I say it in jest about her suffering from Kuru, but for the people that don't know what Kuru is a neurological disorder that you get from being from cannibalism. So
right.
Jeffrey and I have, and many around the world are convinced that Hillary Clinton is evil enough that she may eat babies. But either way.
Adrenochrome in the morning.
I'll just say that. I'll just throw that out there. And remember, when I was doing broadcasting with Michael Chavello on a network I won't mention.
Fuck them.
We had a fighter on who struggled to make weight, and her coaches had to basically drag her up to the scale, put her on the scale, and then drag her away from the scale. And she came out the next night and was performing great in the fight, and Michael Chavello set me up perfect for it. I couldn't believe it. He goes, Pat, yesterday at weigh-in, she couldn't even walk, and tonight she's performing like a world champion. And I go, yeah, I mean, at the weigh-in, she was doing the Clinton shuffle. And my producer screamed in my ear, Pat, knock that shit off.
You did get some heat that year, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, we had to have fun, man. I mean, the kid getting mounted over and over, and
nothing ever. And I don't know. I don't want to speak for you or speak for my hopefully good friend Michael Chavello. The My Anus shit, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to Pat and Michael Chavello calling the My Anus fight. I think it's MAINUS.
It's mostly Michael. I think there's only.
But just the way it was cut together. Even if you listen to it live, it's hilarious. But the way they cut it together, either way, Pat, and you said you were damn near. I mean, you are a professional, but you were pushing every bond of professionalism to keep your shit when that was going on.
I had my finger on the cough button almost the entire fight.
I can't even imagine.
Michael Chavello and I had to put our backs to each other chairs to even pull it off. And here's the thing. The CEO of Access TV Fights, I said the network, and no big deal. Andrew Simon was literally crawling away on his hands and knees. He was laughing so hard. Everybody on the other side of the cage that had cans that could hear what we were doing were literally falling over out of their chairs. And I guess the production truck was in absolute pandemonium.
You just have to hear it, ladies.
The executive producer is sitting there, and our producer at the time, Mike Ricci, who's an incredible guy, turns around and looks at Daryl Ewalt and goes, "Are we seriously doing this right now?" And Daryl looks at him and goes, "Apparently."
Hey, you guys didn't choose his last name. You didn't. I mean, if it was Jackson, it would have been a completely different thing. But the guy's name was fucking My Anus. And his
name was Danny Mayanus, and they almost, after that fight, paired him up with a guy named Fakad Sharapov.
No.
we were salivating for that fight to happen.
Oh my God. Even the one we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, before we let everyone go, check it out. Danny Mayanus, Michael Chavello, Pat Milicic, that particular network. All you need to do is punch in those names and you'll find it because it's epic.
Yeah, that was a fun one. And you cut out a little bit here, so I'll sit here and wait for you to come back.
No, it's all right. Hopefully everybody heard what I said. But yeah, we were just freestyling tonight, man. It's been a minute. It's, as always, ladies and gentlemen, it's really, this is I'm going to say it's a hobby because this is a job for us and we absolutely love this, but we also have other things going on. So schedule-wise, it's really hard to get things together and do as much content as we would really, really, really like to do. So please support the farm, our incredible sponsors. And yeah, dude, Patrick.
Go to conspiracyfarm.com.
Yeah.
Click on any of the links for our sponsors.
For sure. And with everything going on, prepare with the farm. Go check out that My Patriot Supply. And, the bug is very hard to get at you if your immune system is strong. So, again, not just because we sell their stuff. But dude, Green 85 and a myriad of other products from
we're gonna cut some commercials for each one.
We're gonna definitely put some stank on that here in the next coming months, because our sponsors have been absolutely awesome and faithful to us. And again, time wise, it's just been hard to get everything out the way we want it to. But man, we just hit 20,000 subscribers today on the UFace, and seriously, thank you guys. I'm serious, man.
A couple million downloads, so we're good. But
absolutely, and listeners are through the roof, man.
We need to look. Can you pimp yourself out to a billionaire that'll fund this thing?
Can I pimp myself out to a billionaire?
Won't you throw yourself on a grenade for the team, bro?
Probably. We'll have to talk about this grenade. How many zeros are behind this grenade?
Yeah, beautiful. All right. I'm glad we got you at least thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you, Champ. And, peace and so much love, everybody. Stay safe, dude. As much as all of this stuff, I believe, is a psyop to do a lot of other stuff. Fuck. Wash your hands, man. Don't be picking your nose and go try to shake hands with people and shit. You know what I mean? Just use safety, just basic common sense type shit to keep your germs to a minimum. Because, a lot of good friends. My boy Sam Tripoli, shout out to his new babies, Ghost and Ninja. These babies got, fragile immune systems and old people too.
Supply, because it's coming, people.
For sure.
It's coming.
All right. So peace and all that love, guys. Later, Champ. And thank you guys so much. Peace and so much love. There will always be more.